Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back because last night I finally got the pleasure to see Robert Eggers' third feature film, The Northman. It stars Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Claes Bang, Björk, Anya Taylor-Joy, Willem Dafoe, Ethan Hawke, and more. And with that said, let's get started. The film follows Prince Amleth, whose father has been brutally murdered by his uncle, and his uncle kidnaps his mother, and so Amleth goes on a revenge mission to kill his uncle and avenge his father. I really like Robert Eggers as a director. I never saw The Witch with Anya Taylor-Joy, but I did see The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. It is a fascinating yet extremely weird film that I really enjoyed, and I was really looking forward to this movie. I like the trailer. I like the cast that's been assembled for this and what I've seen and heard about this movie, and I think it lived up to expectations. I loved this movie. I love the performances from everybody. I think Alexander Skarsgård is ferocious and he is spectacular as our lead character Amleth. He really channels that rage and that aspect and the physicality that he dedicates himself to this role. There's some really awesome moments that happen with him in this movie, especially midway through, and I love his dynamic with Anya Taylor-Joy as Olga, and especially with how he will go as far as he can to do whatever it takes to complete his mission. And I really enjoyed that. His scenes with all these other characters that he interacts with along the way are really great. And even Alexander Skarsgård, just a lot of his moments in combat in this movie, I think are so great, especially how he delivers his lines and just everything that's happened. I think he is awesome in this movie. Nicole Kidman, once again, fantastic as usual. She's in this movie a lot more than I thought she was going to be, but it is a welcome surprise. I really liked her in this movie, especially with how she's in the situation, how she ties into Amleth's revenge mission. I really liked her, especially with a lot of things I did not see coming. There are some really, really great things with her, especially with her dynamic with Fjolnir and Ethan Hawke's character. And Anya Taylor-Joy, one of my favorite actresses. I loved her in The Queen's Gambit and Last Night in Soho and Emma. So once again, I really liked her here. I love her dynamic with Alexander Skarsgård. There's some really nice moments between the two of them, and it was really cool to see her work with Robert Eggers again, especially as this is his third movie and second collaboration with each other. I really liked her here. I really liked a lot of the stuff she does, especially her moments with Alexander Skarsgård and how she helps him on this revenge mission he's on. So once again, I love her in this movie, and as always. And Willem Dafoe and Ethan Hawke are not in this movie as much, but they do leave a lasting impression on Amleth and his character as this movie goes on. I really enjoyed them too. And Claes Bang as Fjolnir is fantastic. I really liked his character. There are some moments, especially midway through the movie, with all the rage he channels into his character and just the fight sequences and his dynamic and how he's responding to everything that's happening around him in this movie is spectacular. He's so great in this movie. It's just fantastic stuff here. Robert Eggers assembled a marvelous cast, and everybody was at their A game. The action sequences, I think, are really cool here. It's not an action-heavy movie, but I actually appreciate that because it really shows, Robert Eggers focusing on our character and just the story and how it's just a personal revenge mission that our character is on. And it actually reminds me of, The Lion King and even Hamlet in a way. And it's funny because Amleth, it's like Hamlet, you're move the H all the way into the end, which is funny that I noticed. And I think it's a really gripping revenge tale. And just adding to that, again, the action sequences are really cool here, especially in the third act of this movie and stuff we see go on, just the camera work, how it's shot, it's visible, it's clear, and it's so gruesome and violent, just like it would be when you live in the time of Vikings. Really, really cool stuff here. Very well choreographed, very well shot, and very well timed, especially with how many beats per second things must have happened when they did this. It is just really cool stuff here. Super, super awesome action sequences. There are some beautiful landscape shots with all this land that our characters are going on, whether they're at sea or they're on land or whether they're in battle. Super great stuff. And I love just how it feels very immersive and real. And as this movie goes on, I felt like I was sucked into the world of the Northmen, and like I was on this revenge mission with our character, and I really dug just how it's shot and how it's lit. It feels very real, and it has that Robert Eggers vibe here, because even The Lighthouse, which is a significantly smaller movie than this, very well shot, and I think the production value for this movie is also at top notch. For a movie that's set around that time period, they pull it off so well in this movie. It really felt like a movie that might have came out of that time frame, and it is just such a good looking movie, and even in a visual effects standpoint, spectacular. It's not over reliant on that kind of thing, but when it happens, it does look really cool. Another thing I love about this movie is that even though we have a protagonist to follow that we want to see win, I love how our characters are so morally complex. They're not exactly like, here's our good guy and here's our bad guy. Because even our characters, even the ones we want to root for, they've all done really questionable things in this movie. And I love that because it makes you feel like you don't really have morally good characters here, because even our characters that we want to see win, they've done some really sketchy things as well, and I really dug it, because then it's like just how you want to see this character win, but also because of how our villain is not a good guy. You know what he did to Amleth, but Amleth himself has also done some things that is like, is he just as bad as Fjolnir? You want to see Amleth win. We like Amleth more than Fjolnir, but it's also just the fact that I love how over this movie, it's like you don't really have a character specifically where it's like, this is our good guy character. This is who we want to see win. We want nothing bad to happen. And I love that even though we root for Amleth and that we want Amleth to be victorious because of his personal trauma that he had to witness, we still see him do some things that are like, this is not exactly good stuff here, but I think I like it because it makes our characters feel morally ambiguous. It's like these characters can do something good, something bad, a bit of both, and I really dug it. It really made me feel just that gripping revenge tale aspect of this story. It's a very intense movie. Again, definitely not for children. Robert Eggers has made 2 R-rated movies with The Witch and The Lighthouse. So for this kind of movie, I think it's a super intense movie. It's a lot more than intense than I thought it was going to be, even by just judging from the trailers. There are moments where I sat there absolutely shocked at how gruesome a lot of these moments that happen are, especially in terms of context. And it is a very, very gripping revenge tale. It does not hold back on any cylinders at all. It commits to what it is trying to accomplish. And it is a very violent movie at that, and it makes sense for a movie set in the Viking times and the revenge tale aspect and what our characters do and what happens. This is not exactly that kind of movie where it's going to be super action-packed and super big on that. It's just a revenge story that follows our one lead character who meets all these characters he's met in this movie while trying to accomplish his goal to kill his uncle. I like that a lot. It could have been a very action-driven movie, but I like that it still retains a lot of Robert Eggers' style, even if this is his biggest movie yet in scope. And I really like that here. And I think it is extremely original, even if it feels like inspired by something like The Lion King or Hamlet in a sense. So if you're coming into The Northman expecting a big Viking action movie, you're not going to feel all that satisfied with this movie, because it is very much a character-focused movie. And even if we have action, they're still awesome, but that's not the main focus goal that the film is trying to set out to do. Now, on the negative side, I think the middle of the movie kind of slows down a bit, because I love the first act of this movie and I love the third act of this movie, but the middle, probably the weakest act of the three, because it kind of slows down at parts. There are some really exciting bits that happen in the middle and really shocking moments that happen in the middle, but you can kind of feel the runtime in a sense. You kind of want things to go along because some moments aren't just happening at points, and you're kind of like, you just want to see the story progress and you want to see all these things happen. You want to see these characters suffer, like fill in the blank. So in a way, it's like some moments felt like it could have just been trimmed or just removed. It felt like the middle of the movie slows down at times, but it did not do anything that like took my eye off the ball or just diverted my attention away from the screen. So yeah. And some characters were underutilized. Like I said before, Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe are not in this movie as much as you might think they're going to be. So I kind of wish some other characters there are more of too. Won't say who, but I do think some characters could have done a little bit more in this movie than they could have. And my third and final issue with the movie is that it's not as weird as one might suggest it would walking into a movie by Robert Eggers. But it didn't bother me because even if we had weird moments, they're still weird. It's just not quite as weird as you might think it will be, especially if you've seen The Lighthouse in a sense. But in the end, I really dug this movie. I think Robert Eggers was easily the best pick for this role of director. Nobody could have done this movie but him. And especially with the cast here, I love the cast. I love the twists and turns that happen in this movie. And it's a really gripping revenge tale about Amleth, who goes on this mission to kill his uncle. It is a super gruesome movie, but it is a really fantastic piece of cinema. It is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year so far. It definitely lives up to the hype. So in the end, I'm going to give The Northman an A. And I do recommend you see this on the big screen if you are a fan of the director and the genre. Not as good as The Lighthouse, but still an excellent addition to Robert Eggers' filmography, I think. If you love original movies and the cast and the director behind it, then this is a must-see for you. So go see this in the nearest theater you can find. And guys, thank you so much for watching my review for The Northman. And don't forget, I have a review for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming out this weekend. Cannot wait to see it Thursday night. I am so excited for this movie. It's going to be insane. So don't forget to stay tuned for that. I have both a non-spoiler and a spoiler review planned for that movie. So I hope you guys will stick around for that. And guys, don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below. So don't forget to do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And stay tuned for more.
I will save you, mother.
I will save you, mother.
I will kill you if you let me.